Hi, we're sisters Elaine and Brenda.
Welcome to the Body Wealth Podcast, a space for conversation about the wealth that really matters.
Your best health. Welcome, Claudia. Thank you so much for joining us on the Body Wealth Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, would you take a second to let our listeners know a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia. I run Catching Claudia, which is a travel Instagram account, as well as Crescendo Creative Agency. And I'm really excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Well, we will jump in then.
Okay. So for as long as you can remember, you've had allergies and asthma. And what symptoms do you remember experiencing as a child?
So as a child, the biggest one I can think of is definitely swelling of the eyes, my eyes swelling shut, itching, sneezing, watery eyes, red eyes, trying to go outside and playing in the grass because I want to be with everyone else, and then instantly regretting it, but just having to take my medicine. So
medicine was part of your daily routine.
Yeah, from as long as I can remember it.
Right. So you don't even remember not having to take medicine for your allergy.
Right.
What medicine were you taking?
I originally, I guess, was taking a lot of Benadryl. And then when we finally went to an allergist, I was prescribed a few antihistamines. What I ended up being consistent with up until recently was Singulair and Zyrtec.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had my emergency inhaler and a daily inhaler.
And what are you allergic to?
Pretty much everything outside and inside.
Okay.
So it is, I guess, more outside allergies. So spring honestly stresses me out a little bit now. It's getting better, but just the thought of having to go through those symptoms to that extreme every year is definitely stressful when the pollen comes out and everything that I'm allergic to is blooming.
Did you feel different from the other kids because of this?
Yes and no. I think maybe when I got older, maybe in middle school, high school, when I started being a little more self-conscious, but because it was such a norm for me, I didn't really feel different. I knew I had to go to the nurse before we went to recess to get my puff of inhaler. But like there were a couple other kids who had to do the same thing. So didn't feel as bad. But yeah, when I started getting older, caring more about my looks, of course, my eyes being red and watery all the time and puffy was definitely, I started feeling different in a little bit.
Not the look you were going for as a high schooler.
Yeah, definitely not the look. So yeah, that part was a little challenging, especially just not really having any cure.
Right.
It was just trying to manage it.
So you never did shots as a kid?
I did. So they got me. So it was so bad that one time, and I remember this, and I don't know if I was on shots yet. I think I was still pre-shots, but going into someone's house with a cat, and within 5 minutes, my friend's dad had to call my mom to pick me up because my eyes were swollen shut and I was coughing. So I think that was pre-shots. It got better, but it was never cured. It was just a little bit more well managed, especially my asthma. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say the asthma aspect didn't hold me back at that time, but definitely the allergies, I would feel that a lot.
Wow. So did you have to check with people before you went to their houses?
Yeah, a lot of times I would just be like, do you have a cat? And so I would know. But again, I think wanting to fit in and just pretend it doesn't exist, I would just have my little medication in my bag, I'm just gonna sneak and take it, so that they don't know. But I mean, it was pretty obvious. But people would lock their cat away if I was coming over. Usually.
And did that help?
It helped a little bit.
Because I just literally last Sunday, I went to a friend's house and I didn't know she had 2 cats. I can sometimes be in a house with cats if they're not around. And so she was like, oh, okay, I'll put them away. I'm like, no, because I didn't want to be a bother, right? And my eyes are my early warning indicators. Like that's the first thing that's going to go is they're going to swell and get red. So anyway, I was fine. I'm sitting there. And then the woman next to me started petting the cat. And within 5 minutes, I had to leave. I was like, I can't breathe. My throat's closing. My eyes are swelling. And I was like, I'm this old and I'm still dealing with it. So now that you're no longer a child, have you found a solution to that? Like, are you still suffering the way you did as a child?
I started getting allergy shots again when I was in college because I went to school in North Carolina. And I guess what they gave me in those original shots was not what was in North Carolina. So I was like, I'm having the worst time ever. Finally found an allergist. We started the shots. I didn't finish them, but I could feel the difference and they worked very well. Yeah, because my graduation was outside and I just mentally prepared myself to, it's like, you're just going to have to edit the pictures when it's over. But they had gotten so managed because my senior year, I did them twice a week.
Did you ever have reactions to the shots or any other medicines, any adverse reactions?
Yeah, with the shots, I definitely would get itchiness around where they would inject it. One time it was kind of bad. I didn't know that you're supposed to call them after the fact if it's that bad, but I was wheezing. And that's one of those signs that they say you need to call if that's happening after a shot. But that only happened once. If anything, the symptom that I would get more would be hives, the more that they injected me with what I was allergic to.
Because they're increasing the dosage. I just started allergy shots, and this is my challenge. You know, they have like the blue bottle, the green bottle, and you do this for 6 weeks, then they increase it. And so they've increased my dosage twice. And each time they increase the dosage, I had a terrible reaction and they kicked it back down. Never going to be done if I can never progress to the higher. So did you experience any of that or they kept progressing?
So currently I'm taking allergy shots again because when the pandemic happened and I got COVID, my body did not like it. And something happened where I just lost a lot of the immunity that I built. And actually to the point where it's worse than it was. So they had to put me on this shot called Xolair as well. And then recently I just started allergy shots again because I was feeling kind of the same way. I was just like, okay, I'm glad it's managing the symptoms, but I want to feel like I'm getting better. And I don't feel like I'm getting better because near the end when the shot was wearing off each month, I would start feeling it where I couldn't breathe as well and everything. And I was just like, I can't live like this. I need you to figure something out. So yeah, that part, the wanting to be done, I think it's just one of those things. I have to go through the process again and just hopefully it works. They say they're supposed to last for a long time. So hopefully they do.
So as you've moved around, you've had to find different doctors. How have you been able to find allergists? And have you found one that you feel like is working with you to achieve the goals that you have for yourself?
What I will say, just because I've had so many, allergists are really nice. And so in my experience, they've been very thorough. So originally I was a military kid. So I went through that first experience all with military doctors managing my asthma and allergies. And then when I went to college, I was so desperate. I just started looking up allergists in this area and just calling one by one who had the best reviews in the first appointment. So that's how I got that allergist. And then when I was in Spain, they're a little more lax. So they actually just give you the medicine at the pharmacy. So I didn't have a doctor at that point. And then recently I found this doctor who I'm very grateful for. I feel like she's listened to me. She's been very aware of the situation and how dire it was when I first got to her and has just taken really good care of me. But yeah, lots of research.
So what's something you've learned through your own research?
Well, I think just knowing if it's not the right fit. I mean, luckily there's other doctors around. So pre me moving up here, I had my doctor in North Carolina and I had a very negative experience, which kind of pushed me to really just dive deep. And so what I look for, definitely good reviews from other people. When I'm there, I want to see if they actually sit down and listen to me, address my concerns, and just seem very competent. This doctor, when I first came to her, I was probably having the worst reaction of my life because I had a lapse in the shots. And she saw me that day and went to the back and gave me a sample shot of what I was missing, our first encounter. And that meant a lot to me because this is our first time meeting. She doesn't know my history or anything, but just seeing the situation and being like, I'm going to go to the back and get this sample and you're going to be okay. And just having insurance changes and things like that, she's really taking care of me. And so I think just them being thorough, competent, kind.
That's great to hear that you found her. I know with allergies, as a child, I had shots. I think Brenda did too. And I went through a lot of different medications. And I know they're always coming up with new ones. How do you decide with your doctor what you should take?
They kept me very consistent with the Singular and Zyrtec up until that incident when I got COVID. And then I got allergic to Zyrtec.
Oh, wow.
So that was a really interesting time because we did have to try a lot of different things. They were trying off-label like Pepsid to see if that'll help with the itchiness and the hives. And they were trying a lot of different antihistamines and combinations because you can't combine certain things and needing the certain strength that I needed at the time. Then we landed on Xyzal, which actually really works. I like it, but it was making me drowsy, which I didn't realize until my mom also has allergies, but not as severe. She took one. I was taking at this time 4 a day because that was what he prescribed me. And she took one and was non-functional. And so I was like, oh, this is why I can hardly get anything done. So I talked to him again. And that's where we decided to go the route of the Xolair shots, which was really scary for me to decide to do that because the side effects were scary. Reading the box, I was like, I want to try everything before we try this so they say this is not the case, but I guess when they were testing it, it said one of the side effects could be cancer. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Mom, am I that desperate?
Right, right.
But then at a certain point I was. So I was like, I'm just going to have to pray about it. Hope this works.
I think they have to put everything on there that it might potentially be, even though there might be a really small risk. But it's scary to see that, I'm sure.
It was very scary to feel like this is what I have to do. And we were running out of combinations. So it was like, okay, I'll try it. We're going to hope for the best. Initially, when I started, I did have some pretty strong side effects. And even still, I think now my body's still getting used to it, but it still has changed my quality of life enough where the side effects are worth it for me.
Can you describe for us what were the allergy symptoms you were having that were so bad that this was worth it?
Actually, from listening to your podcast, I found a support group on Facebook, and a lot of people are experiencing post-COVID hives.
Okay. Good to know.
And so that was really important to me to find people who thought it was the same thing, because I was just like, when did this start? When am I starting to have hives? Because that was new for me.
Have you had any food testing, or do you know what allergens contribute to your hives coming?
So we're trying to figure it out. We do think it's just everything I'm allergic to and the fact that my immunity had gone down so much, because I can tell a major difference since I've started the allergy shots already, and I'm not even close to being in the maintenance phase. So I feel like it's helping, but it is a process. But yeah, so breaking out in hives every day, and I couldn't breathe. And that's what I was like, I can itch all day. I mean, it's annoying, but okay, down, and I can't breathe. And that I've never experienced that before. I was like, we have to do something. Of course, I would love to not have to, but for now, I'm okay with it.
And when you say you couldn't breathe, was it your throat closing? Was it your lung function?
It was like my chest to the
almost
point
like
where
asthma, like you just can't get the air in.
Yeah, to the point where I thought I was like, do I have anxiety? Do I it was that constant. And I'm like, don't know what's wrong with me. And because my asthma was always very well managed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once the shot started, I could tell immediately, or maybe after the second one with Xolair, I could tell that I could breathe a lot better. So that started to be worth it for me. But those first few, the side effects, I mean, fatigued, joint pain, my hair, I was washing my hair, a whole thing came out. But they say that only happens when you first start because it's so strong. Now it's good. I'm not having that intensive. I do get a little tired the day after, but not all of those symptoms all the time.
So how
that's
often do you have those?
once a month.
And you're doing the allergy shots.
And I'm doing the allergy shots. I'm just trying to get through the process, but hopefully the allergy shots will make those other symptoms less intense, and then I'll be able to maybe stop both. But that is wishful thinking. They said it's a possibility, so I'm going to hope that that's what happens for me. If not, I'm glad that it works and that I have that option. So.
And you can take Xolair for the rest of your life?
I don't know. And yeah, I try not to even think that far.
Okay.
Because yeah, it's like you don't want to be attached to this thing. But I think it could be. I know I'll probably always have allergies, but I can say that I have seen positive results with the shots. So I do think that will at least make it more manageable.
Good.
So right now, do you feel like, or at any time of your life, have you felt like you've been limited in the choices that you can make about just day-to-day living because of this?
So pre that COVID experience, no. Well, I mean, no. It was like I could always push through if it was hard. I was always active in sports, always active in singing, which you have to be able to breathe as well. So never really, honestly, until this happened. In that phase before they got me on these shots, yes, I was just my level of activity could not do it. It was like, these are things that I really enjoy, and I am sitting in this chair, cannot breathe. So it was scary to try to work out. And I do think maybe I got a little bit of anxiety from that experience. But now that it's getting a lot more managed, I actually am able to work out multiple times a week. I'm able to do normal activities, but I do still have to take my medicine and just be mindful not to push myself so hard because I want to do everything like everyone else, and just getting into the mindset, okay, if you can't breathe, you need to go get your inhaler, or take it a lot more seriously than I think I was taking it when I was younger.
Well, because asthma can be induced by exercise. Mm-hmm. You do have to be careful. It makes me laugh because I think everybody thinks they have allergies, right? Everybody's like, oh, I have allergies. I sneeze in the spring. And I think oftentimes many people don't realize how serious allergies can be and how it's anxiety producing to not be able to take in a full breath, you know? Yeah. And so I'm glad you have found some solutions to those challenges.
Yeah, I am very grateful. My mom always said, luckily there are doctors and people who studied these things and keep trying. And just having that support in general has been nice as well, because it was very lonely. Even with listening to one of your episodes, somebody mentioned a support group, and I was like, oh my goodness, because people don't realize how severe it can be for some people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hives are no fun either.
Yeah, they're no fun. They're no fun, but I was like, I can handle this. It was the breathing that really pushed me over the edge.
Funny how, first of all, how your body reacts. Like the fact that allergies can come and go, and that COVID can actually affect the way, I mean, I know we don't understand a lot about COVID still, but it can affect the way that your body reacts to certain things.
So are you more careful than your friends with avoiding COVID now?
I think so. I felt like I really had to fight back with my immune system. So I've definitely gotten a lot more serious about my vitamins. I started juicing. Obviously wear my mask in high traffic areas. I am very careful. I try my best. And if I do feel something, because I'll try to pushed past it, but just immediately going to urgent care or something to get the medications that'll help me get through it.
But do you find that juicing and changing your diet can really affect the way that your immune system reacts?
I think so. I was just with someone staying close proximity and they had a cold and I didn't get sick.
Oh,
And normally I
good.
always get sick.
So do you check with your doctors on that?
Yeah, I do. Just because it's so many things right now. So every time there's a change, I'll update the portal and just tell them taking this vitamin, am I allowed to?
Oh, good.
And usually I'm in the clear. But yeah, I've been working very, very closely with my doctors with everything.
Is your allergist almost like your primary care doctor, or you have an internist?
I see her a lot more than my primary care doctor. But I do have a primary care, but I don't really talk to her about that just because I feel like I have someone who focuses completely on that already. So we'll talk about the normal things, physical. And so far, other than this, I'm in good physical health.
So you think this has affected your mental health at all?
Yes, I think it's getting better, but I think it took a lot of work to be mindful and think positively, feeling like, okay, when is this going to end? And just kind of getting to the headspace of trusting the process. I do think some days I have bad days where I'm just like, why do I have to deal with this? But not that often now that I'm seeing results. I think when I had no clue what to do and I was feeling very lonely because, again, people like, oh, I have allergies too. I'm like,
No, you don't.
you don't understand. You don't understand. And so kind of just keeping it all to myself. But that really affected my mental health in high school, of course, just feeling a little embarrassed that I'm having to like drop eye drops in my eyes, trying to just continuously stay positive. I have a gratitude journal that I've been writing in. And again, being grateful that they make something that can help me right now is the headspace that I've tried to stay in.
Really healthy. That's good
Yeah, that's
headspace.
great.
Yeah.
Did you have help getting there?
I mean, I have a therapist, so we will occasionally talk about it when I'm having a rough day. For me, I will say it is challenging because, of course, people are concerned, but they can't do anything. So it's like sometimes I don't really want to talk about it, but I do have someone that I could talk about it with.
Oh, that's really good. So when you were a child, your mom was basically managing your allergies and
Yeah,
asthma.
she was managing that.
And then how did that transition happen?
I think because I was in school and I stayed away, just having to find the doctors myself, and I had all the information that I needed. I had my insurance. So I just took it over, I think. She would always, when I was growing up, would always make me talk to the doctors anyway. She would be there. So if I missed something, she would pop in and say it, but she would make me tell them what was going on. So I think I was already comfortable.
Well, that's great parenting advice right there.
Yeah, she was teaching you how to engage with the doctors at an early age by letting you do the talking.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I think you all just brought that to my attention, but yeah, it wasn't a hard transition at all. I was able to feel comfortable expressing what I was going through to the doctors.
So has insurance ever been an issue in terms of paying for this medication that you've had to be on?
So, yes, first of all, this medicine, the Xolair, is $900 a month.
Oh,
for one shot?
One shot. Thank God they have payment programs and everything. When I transitioned to turning 26, got kicked off my mom's insurance. So doing all of that took time. And I was having a lapse, and I didn't have the allergist that I have now because I moved up here.
Right.
So I scheduled the appointment, but initial appointments take time to get in the office. Yeah, that was an issue, but she gave me a sample anyway.
Right.
So getting that insurance thing processed and staying on top of that is challenging, but I mean, I'm not paying $900.
Your insurance pay all of it? All $900?
My job and my insurance pays for all of
So
it.
someone
And
who
I'm
doesn't
very,
have
very
insurance,
grateful.
they're just not getting this help
Yeah,
unless they can
yeah.
afford.
There might be if it's very severe, but you still have to go through a lot of paperwork to
Wow.
get that approval. So, yeah, the insurance issue, I'm again grateful that I have a job, but when I was needing it, I was in transition.
So that affects your health, right?
Yeah,
For
so it was
sure.
affecting
Yeah.
my health. Um, and again, it was just amazing. I think I almost cried in her office because it was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna treat me today. Thank
Out of
God.
kindness.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, thank you so much. I was like, I don't look like this. And I showed her a picture of myself 2 weeks prior.
Oh, before you were
I was like,
having the
oh my
reaction.
God.
Right.
Yeah. She was like, okay, hold on.
Right. Let me go get the shot quickly.
We need to help this girl.
Yeah, I was so grateful. I was glad that the fact that I was having the worst reaction that I ever had the day that appointment happened I was like, okay, great. If that's what needed to happen, then I'm
Right.
happy that it
Get you
happened.
to the solution, right.
Right. But I do think you have to have a doctor who is willing to work with you.
I'm glad you found her.
So, how many medicines are you on? Because it sounds like a fair number.
I have the 2 inhalers, I have the nasal sprays, I have the pills, and then the shots.
Maintenance.
So, yeah, one of the inhalers is emergency, one is daily. The goal is to never need the emergency, but I am supposed to take it before exercise.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
lot.
And all of that is covered by insurance?
It's all covered. Again, I'm grateful for the insurance that I have because I would probably need to dedicate a whole savings plan for that as well.
Right. And that's what
Yeah, no,
keeps
that's
people, some
life-changing.
people in jobs. If they have insurance through their job, then they don't want to leave. If you have 7 medicines you're taking and one of them is $10,000 a year, that's a significant decision point.
It is. It definitely is. And I think that needs to change.
Agreed. Agreed.
It's not fair.
It's
Yes,
not
for
fair.
sure.
I'm grateful that I'm in a position that I'm able to get all the help I need. But if someone were experiencing the same thing and couldn't, I don't know how they would function, honestly.
Right. And just having money is not the reason to be able to feel good.
Everyone should have access to affordable, good health care.
What advice would you give to another young woman who maybe just learned later in life that allergies were hugely negatively impacting her?
I would definitely say, of course, find a good doctor, do your research, get the allergy shots. If I wouldn't say the Xolair, but I would say look into that. A lot of people don't want to, but it can significantly make it better. And just advocate for yourself.
How do you think being a Black woman impacted your experience?
I don't think really for me, in my experience, it has impacted me as a Black woman. I would say more my youth has been more of an impact where they don't take me seriously in that way. But as a Black woman, I would say maybe they couldn't see certain things on my skin as well when it would come to a rash. I don't know if it's because I'm Black or not. I don't know if they just weren't taking it seriously because I'm a little kid who's like, oh, I can't breathe that well, but I'm here a lot. So
It's hard to
that
say.
experience, no, it is hard to say.
That makes sense.
But that's a good point, though, I didn't think about. Are most of your doctors Black or white?
I've actually never had a Black allergist. My current allergist is Asian, and then before that have been all white men.
I've never met a Black allergist.
People need to get into the field more.
That's true. But yeah, thinking about just how rashes appear on your skin, I have seen that that is sometimes an issue because they're just looking for something to look a certain way as what they're taught in school or may not recognize what it is. So I guess having more Black allergists might address that as well.
Also, how they have those books and they have pictures of what different conditions present as. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about my podiatrist, but all the pictures were white feet. Right. So again, just for the doctors to be able to know what something might look like on different skin tones would be helpful for them.
Exactly.
What would you need from your care providers to make you feel well cared for?
I think the biggest thing is listening to my concern and not feeling like I'm just another patient in the office and they're trying to get through 15 patients, even if it is 15 to 20 minutes that is spent with me, actually taking time to hear me. That to me is the most important. And because I'm very well researched in these things, I have to be. So when I come in there, hearing my suggestions or thoughts on the certain thing, even if that's not true, but answering those questions that have come up from my research.
And so most of your doctors have been willing to listen to those questions and your theories about what's going on with you, which is valid. I mean, nobody knows your body like you do. So I think for them, they should look at it as helpful information.
I feel like they've been able to listen. My first doctor, just telling her what I was taking, and she's like, oh no, let's do something different, because how are you functioning right now? How can we fix this? And then actually trying to, or at least seeming like they want to really help me.
But I love that she was worried about how can you function right now, because that tells me she's not just looking at managing your allergies, but also looking at your quality of life, your ability to do your work and enjoy life as well. That's really good.
Yeah, it was very refreshing, definitely.
Well, thank you, Claudia. This has been so helpful. I'm so glad you're in a good place and hope you continue to be.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Want to hear our take on this conversation? Check out our After the Show episode right here. For resources related to today's topic, see the show notes.
If you want to support Body Wealth, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'd also love it if you give us a 5-star rating and write a review letting us know what you love about the show. The Body Wealth podcast shares personal stories to inspire you. It does not constitute medical advice. For that, we encourage you to work with a trusted healthcare provider. We also want to remind you that the views expressed by our guests are their own. This podcast is dedicated to our mother, Jean Fernandez Barbour, who showed us what advocating for yourself really looks like.